Welcome to Lawyers, Guns and Money, where here at the Thaiger we speak to Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. Ben's basically been around the block a few times when it comes to legal matters in Thailand. He is Thai.
Of all things, yeah. I don't exactly look the part.
Can you speak really good Thai?
Define really good.
Really good?
It's functional. I'm actually rather embarrassed by my Thai, if I'm being honest. But
okay.
But yeah, I could get through minimum competency to get my citizenship, and I can speak to folks if I need to. But I'm very hesitant to do it on video on YouTube.
I'm sure it's a lot better than mine. Ben, we're going to have a talk today about long-term visas. There's been quite a lot of chatter on the media recently about new long-term 10-year visas for what they're calling high wealth foreigners, digital nomads. Most digital nomads I know aren't necessarily high wealth foreigners. What's happening with these new long-term visas?
It's a very good question. I find it really fascinating. The overall media has sort of used very specific language to define a very fuzzy situation right now. It's currently, and I think your publication I was reading, you said this verbatim in the Thaiger, that this has been approved in principle. And that's the operative key point here is we've yet to see any regulations promulgated on this. We have no idea what the specifics are, at least as of the time of this video. We have no clue what exactly this is going to look like. My gut tells me that, and I've said this before on our channel, I think it's going to look akin to the Smart Visa program. That's my kind of working feeling right now. I could be totally wrong, totally off base, but the categories, the way they've sort of set it up, looks very similar. Now, Smart Visa was created specifically to lure in sort of tech entrepreneurs, things like this. This seems designed more to, quote unquote, lure in, how do you want to call it, high net worth individuals, these wealthy retirees. Now, exactly who's doing this remains to be seen. We saw in recent comments from the government they're going to be 10 years, but it's capped at 10 years. They're calling them resident visas, which they're not resident visas, as we know. I mean, there is permanent residence in Thailand, and this is not that. So exactly what it looks like remains to be seen. I'm currently tentatively taking the position that they're going to look like smart visas somewhat.
So another part of this, and one group of people visiting Thailand that always seems to fall between the cracks are these digital nomads. Do you think that the proposal they've got at the moment will eventually and finally address? Because it seems to me that the digital nomads are a really good group of people to attract to Thailand. People that are probably going to stay here for a reasonable amount of time. They're going to be working here, so they probably need some sort of work visa. They'll probably be paying taxes here. Why not get people sitting in cafes, maybe using the Wi-Fi? They're buying coffee, they have to eat, they have to buy a bus ticket. What's going to happen to the digital nomads?
It's a good question. Unfortunately, as you say, they fall through the cracks. I think the issue with them is with what policymakers are trying to deal with is they're hard to quantify. The digital nomad. The retirees, for example, let's just look at the retirement visa very briefly. You got to be 50, you got to have the money in the bank, or you got to prove the income. That's basically it.
Not have a criminal record?
Not have a criminal record and have your your forms filled out, photos, and just go through the motions. It's very precise. This digital nomad thing, they sort of tried this under the Smart Visa program. Yeah. And they never quite legged it out. What I find interesting, another reason I think this is going to look somewhat similar to Smart Visas, is the fact that BOI is going to be heavily involved in this. At least that's what Bangkok Post said some week back or whatever it was. So if BOI is involved, well, that looks very much like the Smart Visa system. But as far as digital nomads, yeah, they have been, I hesitate to say overlooked, but it's very difficult to fit them into a box. I think what you're going to end up seeing is probably some kind of monetary threshold, but I would not expect that to be an overly low threshold. It's probably going to be, I would say probably higher than the retirees, because I think the policy thinking will be, well, look, retirees come in, they're just retired. Like, how much money do they need? Also, those policies were set 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They haven't been changed. There's arguments for and against that. I'm kind of against changing that right now. But, okay, that's just sort of in the system. Whereas this new thing is coming out at a time when they may say, look, we want to see X amount of dollars or bought in a bank account as opposed to the old, the retiree thing, which was a lower amount.
50 is a fairly young age to retire. Should they be making the age a little bit higher?
Well, I'm not in favor of that. They did it in the 90s. In my understanding, this is long before my time, it was kind of in response to the 97 financial crash and everything. They were looking to bring in capital. And frankly, most of the 50-year-old retirees that we deal with out here, they may be sort of semi-retired. They go offshore and then come back in and things like that.
Okay. All right, so these long-term visas, they're not a sure thing.
Right.
They're still being talked about. We at the Thaiger will do our best to provide the latest information on these long-term visas when they come around. And when they do, if you need some legal help, you may want to go and speak to a lawyer like Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much for having me.
Ben Hart on Lawyers, Guns and Money. We'll have another one of these around about once a week. I think we usually put them on the weekends.
Oh, do you?
So you can be mowing the lawn and then rush back in and watch an episode of Lawyers, Guns and Money. And we'll be back next time.